The human mechanic fixed broken toys for free. Then alien kids started calling him Dad. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The spaceport of New Harmony bustled with activity as ships of all sizes docked and departed, their engines humming against the backdrop of a violet sky. Amid this cosmic symphony of commerce and travel stood a small, unassuming shop with a hand-painted sign that simply read, Tyler's Fix-It Shop. Tyler Grant wiped the sweat from his brow as he hunched over his workbench, squinting through a magnifying lens at the tiny gears of a mechanical toy spaceship. His large, calloused hands moved with surprising delicacy as he carefully adjusted the miniature propulsion system with a pair of tweezers. The toy belonged to a young Zenturian child who had visited his shop earlier that day, tears in all four of its eyes as it cradled the broken spacecraft. Just a loose connection, Tyler muttered to himself as he tightened the final component. With a satisfied smile, he flipped the switch, and the toy spaceship hummed to life, its lights blinking and tiny engines glowing with a soft blue light. He set it aside, ready for pickup, and made a note in his ledger. Zenturian child, toy repair, no charge. Tyler hadn't planned on becoming the unofficial toy repairman for every alien child in New Harmony. It had started 3 years ago, shortly after he'd arrived on this remote outpost as part of the Human Expansion Initiative. With Earth becoming increasingly crowded, humans had ventured into the stars, establishing trade relationships and settling on planets willing to accept them. New Harmony was one such place, a spaceport planet where dozens of species converged for commerce. As the only human mechanic on this section of the spaceport, Tyler had originally intended to focus on ship repairs and maintenance. But 6 months after opening his shop, a small Dracorian child had wandered in, clutching a broken robotic companion. The child's parents had been told the toy was beyond repair, and Tyler could still remember the dejection on the young alien's face, so similar to a human child's despite the scales and extra set of eyes. Tyler had fixed it that day, refusing payment from the surprised Dracorian parents. Just being neighborly, he'd said with a shrug. Word spread quickly after that, and soon alien children from across the spaceport began appearing at his door, bearing broken toys and hopeful expressions. The door chime interrupted Tyler's reminiscence. He looked up to see a tall, slender Andorian standing in the entrance, its blue skin shimmering under the shop lights. The alien was holding the hand of a smaller Andorian child who clutched something to its chest. "Welcome," Tyler said, setting down his tools and approaching the counter. "What can I do for you today?" The adult Andorian nudged the child forward. "My offspring has a request," it said, its translator converting the whistling speech into standard. The child, no more than the equivalent of a human 7-year-old, stepped forward and carefully placed a small device on the counter. It was an educational toy, designed to teach Andorian children about the constellations and spatial navigation, a crucial skill for a spacefaring species. "It stopped working 2 cycles ago," the child whispered, antennae drooping sadly. "Father says it is too old to replace, but I learned all my star maps on it." Tyler picked up the device, turning it over in his hands. "This is a classic model," he said with an appreciative nod. "They don't make them like this anymore." He pressed a few buttons, but the screen remained dark. "May I open it up and take a look?" The child nodded eagerly, its antennae perking up with hope. Tyler moved back to his workbench, gesturing for the Andorians to follow. He selected several tools from his organized rack and began carefully disassembling the device, explaining his process as he worked. "See here? This is the power coupling. In these older models, they tend to corrode after about 10 years. He gently extracted a small component. "Yep, that's your problem right there. I've got a compatible replacement part that should work just fine." As Tyler worked, the Andorian child watched with fascination, asking questions that Tyler patiently answered. The adult stood back, observing the interaction with quiet interest. "There we go," Tyler said after about 20 minutes of work. He reassembled the device and pressed the power button. The toy hummed to life, its screen displaying a vibrant map of the local star cluster. "Good as new. Maybe even a little better. I upgraded the power cell, so it should last another decade at least." The child's face lit up with joy, its skin changing from pale blue to a deeper, more vibrant shade, an Andorian expression of happiness. It took the device with reverent hands, immediately testing the different functions. "How much do we owe you?" the adult Andorian asked, reaching for a credit chip. Tyler waved away the offer. "No charge. It was a simple fix." The adult's antennae twitched in confusion. "But you used a replacement part. And your time has value." Tyler shrugged. "I've got plenty of spare parts gathering dust, and time spent making a kid happy is time well spent, if you ask me." He smiled at the child, who was now excitedly showing its father how the repaired toy worked. The adult Andorian tilted its head, studying Tyler. "You are unusual for a human," it finally said. "Just doing what feels right," Tyler replied. "Your little one takes good care of that toy. It's worth fixing things that are loved." After the Andorians left, Tyler returned to his other work. He had a faulty navigation system from a merchant ship to repair by morning, the job that actually paid his bills. But as he settled in for the evening, he found himself smiling, thinking about the look of joy on the Andorian child's face. The next morning brought new challenges. Tyler had just finished repairing the navigation system when 3 young Triskelion children entered his shop, each carrying a piece of what appeared to be a shared toy, a complex puzzle cube that taught spatial reasoning and problem-solving. "Mr. Human Fix Man," the tallest of the 3 chirped in broken standard. "Can you make our thinker cube whole again?" It fell and went to pieces. Tyler knelt down to their level, which still left him taller than the small amphibious aliens. "Let's see what we're working with," he said gently. The children placed the broken pieces on the floor, and Tyler carefully gathered them up. "This will take some time. Would you like to wait, or come back later?" "Wait, please," said the smallest one, settling onto the floor with the others. "We will be very quiet while you work the magic." Tyler chuckled. "It's not magic, just mechanics. But you're welcome to watch." As he worked on reassembling the complex puzzle toy, Tyler engaged the children in conversation, learning that they were siblings whose family had recently moved to New Harmony from a water world in the Trayscale system. They were struggling to adjust to life on a predominantly dry planet, and the puzzle cube had been a comfort item from their home world. "My father says we should learn to live without reminders of home," the middle child said softly. "He says it makes the adapting harder." Tyler paused in his work. "Sometimes a little reminder of where you came from can help you feel brave enough to face where you are," he said. "There's nothing wrong with keeping something special from home." The children exchanged glances, their gill flaps pulsing with emotion. "That is what our mother says," the tallest one replied. "But she is often busy with work now." Tyler nodded sympathetically as he clicked another piece into place. "New beginnings are tough. My first year here, I missed Earth so much I thought about going back every day." "What made you stay?" the smallest one asked. Tyler thought about it as he worked a particularly tricky connection. "I started to make connections. Found purpose. Started to feel like I was part of something here." The final piece snapped into place, and the puzzle cube hummed to life, its surfaces glowing with soft, pulsating light. "There we go. Good as new." The children gasped in delight, reaching for the toy with webbed hands. "Test it out," Tyler encouraged. "Make sure all the functions work properly." As the children manipulated the cube, the patterns shifted and changed, responding correctly to their inputs. Their skin, which had been a dull gray when they entered, now pulsed with patterns of blue and green, a Triskelion expression of joy. "It works better than before," exclaimed the middle child. "How much currency do we owe?" "Not a thing," Tyler said, ruffling the smooth head of the smallest child. "Just promise to help each other adjust to your new home. Sometimes siblings are the best support system in a new place." The children conferred briefly in their native language, their gill flaps fluttering rapidly. Then the tallest one approached Tyler with solemn purpose. "We have no currency to give, but our people believe debts must be balanced." It reached into a small pouch and pulled out a smooth, iridescent stone. "This is a luck stone from our home ocean. It brings good fortune to those who help others without seeking gain. We wish for you to have it." Touched by the gesture, Tyler accepted the stone with appropriate gravity. "I'm honored. Thank you." After the Triskelion children left, clutching their repaired toy, Tyler placed the stone on a small shelf behind his counter, alongside other small tokens he'd received from grateful alien children over the years. A feather from a Kvarian nestling, a hand-drawn picture from a Liridian child, a small crystal formation from a young Petrova. The day continued with a steady stream of customers, most coming for actual mechanical repairs to ships or equipment, but interspersed with the occasional child bringing a treasured toy. By late afternoon, Tyler had fixed a malfunctioning environmental suit regulator, repaired a communication device, restored function to a personal hover transport, and mended 3 more toys. He was about to close shop when the door chimed once more. A tall, imposing Draxian entered, one of the warrior race that had once been feared across 3 systems before becoming peaceful members of the Galactic Concord. The Draxian's crimson scales gleamed in the shop lights, and its 4 arms were tensed in what Tyler recognized as discomfort. Behind the adult, partially hidden, was a small Draxian child. "Greetings, human mechanic," the adult rumbled, the translator struggling to convey the deep bass of its natural voice. "I am told you repair playthings for younglings." Tyler nodded. "That's right. What seems to be the problem?" The adult nudged the child forward. "Show the human, Krozak." The child, its scales a softer pink rather than the crimson of maturity, stepped forward reluctantly. In its upper hands, it held what appeared to be a traditional Draxian warrior doll, an artifact from their more warlike past that now served as a cultural teaching tool. "The articulation joints no longer function," the child said quietly, demonstrating how the doll's limbs hung limp. "And the voice recorder is damaged." Tyler held out his hands, and after a moment's hesitation, the child placed the doll in them. Tyler examined it carefully, noting the craftsmanship. "This is beautifully made. An heirloom." The adult Draxian's chest swelled with pride. "It has been in our lineage for 7 generations. It is meant to pass to Krozak when he reaches maturity, but in his enthusiasm, some damage occurred." Tyler caught the slight droop in the child's posture. Shame, he guessed, at having damaged a family treasure. "Well, let's take a look. The joints should be a straightforward fix. The voice recorder might be trickier, but I'll do my best." "You believe you can repair it?" the adult asked, surprise evident in its voice. "Our own craftsman said it was beyond restoration without replacing the authentic components, which would diminish its heritage value." "I'm pretty good with antiques," Tyler said with a smile. "And I have a knack for finding workarounds that preserve original parts." He gestured to his workbench. "Would you like to watch while I work? It may take about an hour." The adult seemed about to refuse, but the child looked up with hopeful eyes. After a moment's consideration, the Draxian nodded. "We will observe your process." As Tyler worked, he engaged the child in conversation, asking about school and friends. Initially shy, the young Draxian gradually opened up, explaining the cultural significance of the different markings on the doll and recounting stories its parent had shared about their warrior ancestors. "The doll records the stories," the child explained, "so that each generation can add to the history. I was recording a new story when it stopped working." Tyler nodded as he carefully rebuilt the intricate joint mechanisms. "What was your story about?" The child glanced nervously at its parent before answering. "About our move to New Harmony. About meeting other species and learning new ways." The adult Draxian made a sound that the translator didn't catch, but Tyler recognized as surprise. "That sounds like an important addition to your family history," Tyler said, focusing on a particularly delicate connection in the voice recorder. "The story of how your family became part of something bigger than just your own world." The adult Draxian studied Tyler with newfound interest. "You understand our ways better than most non-Draxians." Tyler shrugged. "I've fixed toys for quite a few Draxian children. You learn a lot about a culture from what they consider important enough to preserve for their young ones." After nearly 2 hours of meticulous work, Tyler finally sat back and handed the doll to the child. "Try it now." The young Draxian manipulated the doll's limbs, which now moved smoothly through their full range of motion. Then it pressed a hidden button, and the doll emitted a series of sounds in the Draxian language. "The previous recordings are intact," the child exclaimed, its scales rippling with patterns of excitement. It held the recording button and spoke briefly in its native tongue before playing back the new recording, which came through clear and strong. The adult Draxian seemed stunned. "How did you manage this?" The voice modulator was severely damaged. Tyler wiped his hands on a shop rag. I reconfigured some components from an old communication device I had in my parts bin. The frequency response is actually better now, but all the original recordings are preserved. What payment do you require for this service? The adult asked, reaching for a credit pouch. Tyler shook his head. No payment necessary. It was an honor to work on such an important family artifact. The Draxians exchanged a look of confusion. The adult stepped forward, towering over Tyler. In our culture, a debt unpaid is a dishonor to both parties. Tyler considered this, respecting the cultural significance. Then perhaps you could tell me one of the stories recorded in the doll. Knowledge shared is a fair exchange, I think. The suggestion seemed to surprise and please both Draxians. The adult gestured for the child to activate the doll, and together they translated one of the ancient recordings, a story of a Draxian ancestor who had turned from the path of war to become a respected mediator between conflicting tribes. As they prepared to leave, the young Draxian looked up at Tyler with all four of its eyes. Thank you for fixing our history keeper, Mr. Human. Tyler, he corrected gently. My name is Tyler. The child practiced the name carefully. Thank you, Tyler. I will add you to the story of our time on New Harmony. After the Draxians left, Tyler closed his shop for the day and headed to his small apartment located above the repair shop. As he prepared a simple dinner, he reflected on the day's interactions, smiling at the memory of the children's joy when their treasured toys were restored. His communications terminal chimed, indicating an incoming call. Tyler activated the screen to see the face of his sister back on Earth. Hey, Megan, he greeted her with a warm smile. How's everything back home? Crowded as ever, she replied with a laugh. Mom's asking when you're coming back for a visit. It's been 2 years, Tyler. Tyler nodded, a twinge of homesickness washing over him. I know. I'm saving up for the trip. Interstellar travel isn't cheap, even with the family discount. How's life among the stars? Megan asked. Still fixing spaceships and making friends with aliens? Something like that, Tyler said. It's good work. Feels meaningful. Megan studied her brother's face. You've changed, you know. There's a contentment about you that wasn't there before you left. Tyler considered this. Maybe. I've found my place here, I think. It's not what I expected, but it fits. The great human mechanic of New Harmony, Megan teased. Dad would be proud. He always said your hands could fix anything. The mention of their father brought a bittersweet smile to Tyler's face. David Grant had been a mechanic too, teaching both his children the value of fixing things rather than replacing them. He had passed away just before Tyler had signed up for the expansion initiative. I think about him a lot, Tyler admitted, especially when I'm working with the kids and their toys. Megan's expression softened. He'd love that you're doing that, you know? Remember how he used to fix all the neighborhood kids' bikes? Tyler nodded, the memory vivid. Never took a penny for it, either. Said the look on their faces was payment enough. The siblings chatted for a while longer before saying their goodbyes, promising to call again soon. After ending the call, Tyler stood by the window of his apartment, looking out at the spaceport and the alien sky beyond. Stars unfamiliar to his Earth-born eyes twinkled against the velvet darkness, reminding him how far he had come. Yet somehow, in this place so distant from his birth world, he had found echoes of home. In fixing toys for children with scales or feathers or too many eyes, he had connected to something fundamentally familiar. The joy of a child reunited with a beloved toy was universal, transcending species and worlds. The next morning, Tyler opened his shop to find a small crowd waiting outside. Word had spread about his repair of the Draxian heirloom doll, and several adults from different species stood with children and broken toys. Busy day ahead, Tyler murmured to himself with a smile as he unlocked the door. The first in line was a Larillian parent with a hovering youngling whose wings beat nervously as they approached the counter. The child placed a small musical instrument on the surface, a traditional Larillian wind flute used to teach younglings the songs of their ancestors. It no longer plays the high notes, the parent explained. It is not sophisticated technology, but it holds cultural significance. Tyler examined the flute carefully. The resonance chamber is slightly damaged, but I think I can restore it. Would you like to wait, or come back later? Later would be preferable, the Larillian responded. How much will the repair cost? No charge, Tyler said, his standard response. I'll have it ready by midday. The Lorilian's wings stilled in surprise. No charge? But why would you provide this service without compensation? Before Tyler could answer, a voice from further back in the line spoke up. It was the Draxian from the previous day. The human Tyler honors cultural artifacts and the joy of younglings above material gain. The Draxian stated formally. It is a philosophy worthy of respect. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled aliens, and Tyler felt his face flush with embarrassment at the unexpected praise. It's really not that big a deal, he said, placing the flute carefully in a work tray. I just like fixing things, especially things that matter to kids. Throughout the morning, Tyler alternated between his paying repair jobs and the toys brought by anxious children. By midday, he had repaired the Lorilian flute, restored function to a Zenite educational puzzle, and fixed the propulsion system on a miniature spacecraft belonging to a Tellurian child. As he worked on a particularly challenging repair, a holographic storyteller that had been damaged in a fall, Tyler was interrupted by a knock on his workbench. He looked up to see a small delegation of aliens standing before him, representing at least 5 different species. A tall Meridian stepped forward, its crystalline body catching the light. Human Tyler, we represent the Parental Council of New Harmony's Eastern District. We wish to speak with you regarding your services to our offspring. Tyler set down his tools, wiping his hands on a rag. Is there a problem? Quite the contrary, the Meridian replied. We have become aware of your practice of repairing children's possessions without charge. This generosity has not gone unnoticed. A Vexian, its feathered crest raised in a formal posture, continued. However, we are concerned that this arrangement creates an imbalance. In all cultures represented here, the acceptance of unreciprocated giving creates either a debt or implies a hidden cost. Tyler frowned. There's no hidden cost. I just don't like charging kids for fixing their favorite toys. We understand this is a human cultural practice, the Draxian from earlier said, stepping forward. But among our species, such imbalance creates discomfort and suspicion. We would propose an alternative arrangement. What kind of arrangement? Tyler asked cautiously. The Meridian gestured to the others. We have established a community fund for education and cultural preservation. We propose that rather than individual payments, a donation be made to this fund in your name each time you repair a child's cultural or educational item. This would restore balance, the Vexian added, and provide additional resources for preserving the traditions our younglings learn through these objects. Tyler considered the proposal. I don't want families to feel they can't bring in toys for repair because of cost. The fund is already established, the Draxian explained. Families contribute what they can, when they can. There is no minimum, but it would allow us to maintain our cultural dignity while acknowledging your service. Tyler nodded slowly. That seems fair, but I have one condition, that any family unable to contribute anything can still bring toys for repair. No child gets turned away. The delegation conferred briefly before the Meridian extended a crystalline appendage in agreement. Your condition is acceptable. We will spread word of this arrangement throughout the district. After the delegation departed, Tyler returned to his work, mulling over the unexpected formalization of what had been a simple personal policy. It touched him that the alien communities had found a way to honor his services while maintaining their cultural values. The rest of the day passed in a blur of repairs, both the standard mechanical jobs that paid his bills and the steady stream of toys and cultural artifacts brought by children of various species. By closing time, Tyler was exhausted but satisfied, having restored numerous treasured items to delighted younglings. As he was cleaning his workbench, the door chimed once more. Tyler looked up to see a small Nephilian child enter alone, clutching something to its chest. Nephilians were a relatively rare sight on New Harmony, a reclusive, insectoid species known for their intricate hive structures and complex social hierarchies. Hello there, Tyler greeted gently, noting the child's nervousness. Are you looking for some help? The young Nephilian's antennae quivered anxiously as it approached the counter. Are you the human who fixes broken things for younglings? Its translator buzzed. That's me, Tyler confirmed. I'm Tyler. What's your name? I am called Zik, the child replied, placing a small object on the counter. This was damaged. It is important to me. Tyler examined the item. It appeared to be a small, intricate model of a Nephilian hive structure, crafted from a substance similar to the secretions Nephilians used to build their actual homes. Several of the delicate spires had broken off, and the base was cracked. "This is beautiful work," Tyler commented. "Is it a model of your home hive?" Zick's compound eyes shifted, a sign of emotional distress in Nephilians. "It was. Our hive was dissolved. We were relocated here after the ionic storms on Nephil Prime. This is all I have from home." Tyler felt a pang of sympathy. He had heard about the devastating storms that had destroyed several Nephilian hive clusters the previous year, forcing the survivors to resettle on various worlds. "I understand how important this is," Tyler said softly. "I'll do everything I can to restore it. It might take some specialized materials, though. I don't normally work with Nephilian construction compounds." Zick reached into a small pouch and withdrew a vial of iridescent liquid. "I brought binding fluid. It is difficult to obtain off-world." Tyler accepted the vial with appropriate reverence. "Thank you, Zick. That will help enormously. Would you like to wait while I work, or come back tomorrow?" "May I observe?" the child asked hesitantly. In our culture, witnessing the restoration of a hive model is considered educational. "Of course," Tyler said, clearing a space at his workbench. "You can sit right here and watch every step. You might even be able to help me understand the proper configuration." For the next 2 hours, Tyler worked on the delicate model, using the binding fluid with extreme care and following Zick's soft-spoken guidance on the correct placement of each broken piece. As they worked, the young Nephilian gradually became more animated, explaining the significance of different sections of the hive structure and the social functions they served. "This chamber is where new hatchlings learn their place in the collective," Zick explained, pointing to a hexagonal section near the center. "And this spire is where the elders share wisdom through pheromonal transmissions." Tyler listened attentively, asking questions that demonstrated genuine interest. "And where did you live in the hive?" Zick indicated a small cluster of chambers near the middle levels. "My brood siblings and I resided here, near the learning chambers, but below the planning sections. We were still in education phase when the storms came." "Where do you live now?" Tyler asked gently as he carefully reattached a particularly delicate spire. Zick's antennae drooped slightly. "In the Nephilian settlement on the western edge of the spaceport. It is not a proper hive, just dwellings built in the manner of solitary species." "That must be difficult," Tyler commented, "adapting to a new way of living." "The elders say we must evolve or perish," Zick replied with surprising wisdom for one so young. "But it is hard to understand one's place without the structure of the hive." As Tyler secured the final piece of the model, he had an idea. "You know, Zick, I fix a lot of toys and special items for kids of all species around here. If you'd like to come by sometimes, maybe you could help me understand items from cultures I'm not familiar with. It would be educational for both of us." The young Nephilian's compound eyes gleamed with interest. "You would welcome my assistance? Even though I am not fully educated. Sometimes the best way to learn is to teach," Tyler said, carefully setting the fully restored hive model on the counter. "And I could certainly use help understanding the cultural significance of some of the items I repair. What do you think?" Zick's antennae quivered with excitement. "I would find such an arrangement most beneficial. The elders encourage cultural exchange as part of our adaptation process." Tyler smiled. "Then it's settled. You can come by after your educational periods whenever you'd like." He gestured to the restored model. "What do you think of the repair?" Zick examined the model carefully, antennae moving in precise patterns over each section. "It is correct. The binding is secure. The proportions maintained." The child looked up at Tyler with an intensity that transcended species differences. "You have restored more than a model, human Tyler. You have preserved memory." After Zick had departed with the carefully wrapped hive model, Tyler closed his shop for the day, his mind full of thoughts about homes lost and found, and the unexpected connections formed across species barriers through something as simple as fixing broken things. Over the next few weeks, Zick became a regular presence in Tyler's shop, initially coming just to observe, but gradually taking on small roles in the repair process. The young Nephilian had a natural talent for detailed work and an encyclopedic knowledge of different species' cultural artifacts, making it an invaluable assistant when Tyler faced unfamiliar items. Word continued to spread about Tyler's special service, and the stream of children bringing treasured possessions for repair grew steadily. The community fund established by the Alien Parents Council flourished, with contributions flowing in not only from families whose items Tyler had repaired, but also from others who appreciated the preservation of cultural knowledge. One particularly busy afternoon, Tyler was working on a complex meridian crystal puzzle, while Zick carefully reassembled a Dracorian storytelling device at the second workbench Tyler had installed for the young Nephilian. The door chimed, and Tyler looked up to see the Andorian child from several weeks earlier enter with its parent. The child was carrying the star map device Tyler had repaired, but it didn't appear damaged. "Welcome back," Tyler greeted them. "Is everything still working with the star map?" The Andorian child stepped forward eagerly. "It works perfectly. I have mastered all the navigation puzzles. Father says I show aptitude for spatial plotting." "That's wonderful," Tyler said with genuine pleasure. "So what brings you back today?" The adult Andorian placed a hand on its offspring's shoulder. "We have not come for repairs today. My child has something to say to you." Human Tyler. The young Andorian's antennae twitched nervously before it spoke. "I have been accepted to the Junior Navigator program at the Andorian Flight Academy. It is because of my scores on the star map exercises. My instructor said I showed unusual proficiency for one so young." "That's fantastic news," Tyler exclaimed. "Congratulations. You must be very proud," he added, nodding to the parent. "Indeed," the adult confirmed. "It is a prestigious placement, and it would not have been possible without your repair of the teaching device." The Andorian reached into a pouch and removed a small package. "We have brought you something, not as payment, but as acknowledgement." The child took the package from its parent and presented it to Tyler. "It is a navigator's compass, a traditional gift for those who help guide others to their proper path." Tyler accepted the gift with appropriate solemnity. "I'm honored. Thank you both." After the Andorians had departed, Tyler carefully unwrapped the package to find an exquisite instrument made of polished blue stone and silver-like metal. It was clearly an Andorian cultural artifact of significant value. "That is a status symbol among Andorians," Zick observed, compound eyes fixed on the compass. "It signifies that you have influenced a life trajectory." Tyler turned the compass over in his hands, touched by the gesture. "I just fixed a toy," he said quietly. "No," Zick replied with unusual firmness for one so young. "You restored possibility." The young Nephilian returned to its work, adding, "This is why the younglings come to you with their treasures. You understand their value beyond function." The next day brought another unexpected visitor. The Draxian child, Krozak, returned to the shop, this time unaccompanied by an adult. The young alien appeared nervous, glancing over its shoulder as though concerned about being followed. "Krozak," Tyler greeted him. "Is everything all right with the heirloom doll?" "The doll functions perfectly," Krozak assured him. "I have come for different assistance." The young Draxian placed a small device on the counter. "This is a standard cultural education module. All Draxian younglings receive one upon reaching mid-development." Tyler examined the device. It appeared to be a sophisticated holographic projector designed to teach cultural traditions and history. "It seems to be in working order," Tyler observed. "What's the problem?" Krozak's scales shifted in a pattern Tyler had come to recognize as discomfort. "The problem is not mechanical, but content. The module contains only traditional Draxian knowledge, but I wish to learn about other species as well." The child leaned forward, voice lowering. "My parent believes too much interest in other cultures will weaken my Draxian identity, but I think understanding others makes us stronger." Tyler considered his response carefully, aware of the cultural sensitivity involved. "And you want me to?" "Modify the module to accept additional educational content," Krozak said quickly. "It is designed to be updated only with approved Draxian material, but I have obtained legitimate multi-species cultural education programs that are used in the settlement schools. They simply won't integrate with my module." Tyler scratched his chin thoughtfully. "Krozak, I understand your desire to learn, and I think it's commendable. But modifying your cultural module without your parents' knowledge feels dishonest." The young Draxian's scales drooped in disappointment. However, Tyler continued, there might be another solution. What if I built you a separate device, one specifically designed for multi-species education content? That way, you could continue your Draxian studies as your parent wishes, while pursuing your interest in other cultures on a different platform. Krozak's scales brightened immediately. That would be acceptable. My parent has not forbidden learning about other species. They simply prioritize Draxian knowledge. Then that's what we'll do, Tyler decided. I have some spare educational hardware I can reconfigure. It will take a few days, though. I can wait, Krozak said eagerly. Thank you, Tyler. As the young Draxian turned to leave, it paused. May I ask a question of personal nature? Of course, Tyler replied. Why do you help us, the younglings? What benefit do you receive? Tyler considered the question seriously. When I first came to New Harmony, I was focused on just making a living. Fixing ships, building technology, the work I was trained to do. But I felt disconnected, isolated. When I started fixing toys, I found a different kind of purpose. He smiled. I guess the benefit is belonging. Making a difference in ways that matter. Krozak absorbed this answer, its 4 eyes blinking in sequence. The Treskalian younglings in my learning group have a name for you. They call you the Handfather. The Handfather? Tyler repeated, puzzled. In Treskalian culture, there are birth parents who create life and hand parents who shape it, Krozak explained. They believe you shape their experiences through what you restore to them. With that, the young Draxian departed, leaving Tyler to ponder this new information. Later that week, as Tyler was working late on Krozak's multicultural education device, the door chimed despite the closed sign being displayed. He looked up to see the 3 Treskalian siblings he had helped earlier, accompanied by an adult of their species. I apologize for the intrusion after business hours, the adult said, gill flaps pulsing with mild anxiety. I am Melker, caregiver to these 3. They insisted on bringing me to meet you before our family's departure. Departure? Tyler asked, setting aside his work. The smallest of the Treskalian children stepped forward. We are returning to Trescale, it said sadly. The dry air here has made our mother ill. The healers say she must return to a water world. Tyler knelt down to the children's level. I'm sorry to hear that. Will you be going back to your previous home? Melker answered. No, we will relocate to a Treskalian colony on Aquilon, where the environment is similar to our homeworld but with better medical facilities. These little ones wanted to say goodbye to you personally. The middle child approached Tyler, holding out a small object. We made this for you, so you would not forget us. Tyler accepted the gift, a small sculpture crafted from a material that looked like solidified water, capturing the light in its depths. Inside, tiny air bubbles were arranged in patterns that Tyler recognized as Treskalian script. It's beautiful, he said. What does it say? It says, Handfather, the tallest child explained. Because you helped shape our time here with kindness. Tyler felt a lump forming in his throat. I'll keep it on my special shelf, he promised. And I won't forget you. After the Treskalians had said their goodbyes and departed, Tyler carefully placed their gift on the shelf behind his counter, alongside the other tokens he had received from grateful alien children. The collection had grown considerably over the past weeks, transforming into a colorful display of interspecies appreciation. As Tyler locked up for the night, he found himself reflecting on the Treskalian term, Handfather. It stirred something deep within him, a complex blend of emotions he hadn't fully processed. The following day, Tyler delivered the completed multicultural education device to an ecstatic Krozak, who immediately began downloading content from the settlement's educational database. The young Draxian's excitement was palpable as different species' histories and traditions became accessible at the touch of a button. Now I can understand why the Meridians construct their buildings with 12-fold symmetry, and why the Liridians sing to their food before consuming it. Krozak exclaimed, scales rippling with patterns of joy. Thank you, Tyler. Just promise me you'll still pay attention to your Draxian studies too, Tyler cautioned with a smile. All cultures have valuable wisdom to share, including your own. As the days turned into weeks, Tyler's role in the community continued to evolve. The repair of children's toys and cultural artifacts remained central to his work, but he found himself increasingly involved in the broader life of New Harmony's diverse population. The parental council invited him to attend their meetings as a cultural consultant, providing insight into human perspectives and helping mediate discussions between species with different approaches to child rearing. His shop became not just a place for repairs, but a gathering spot where children of different species interacted while waiting for their treasured possessions to be restored. Zik, the young Nephilian, became Tyler's regular assistant, coming to the shop after educational periods and absorbing knowledge about mechanical repairs and cross-cultural communication with equal enthusiasm. Other children began to linger as well, curious about the work and eager to learn. One afternoon, Tyler looked up from his workbench to see his shop filled with an assortment of alien children. Zik carefully disassembling a malfunctioning educational device, Krozak explaining Draxian cultural symbols to a fascinated Laridian youngling, and several other children from various species engaged in conversation or quietly observing the repair work. "You have created a nest," commented a soft voice beside him. Tyler turned to see a Nephilian adult, taller and more iridescent than Zik, standing nearby, compound eyes taking in the scene. "I'm sorry," Tyler said, not quite understanding. "A learning nest," the Nephilian clarified. "In our culture, younglings gather in specially designated chambers to absorb knowledge from each other and from designated educators. Your repair shop has become such a place, though I doubt that was your intention." Tyler smiled ruefully. "No, it wasn't planned. It just sort of happened. I am Vreen, Zik's primary guardian." The adult Nephilian introduced itself. "I have come to express gratitude for your influence on my ward. Since beginning to assist you, Zik's academic performance has improved by 23%, and its social integration difficulties have decreased significantly." "Zik's a great kid," Tyler said honestly. "Smart and dedicated. I'm lucky to have the help." Vreen's antennae twitched, and what Tyler had learned was a gesture of thoughtful consideration. Among Nephilians, those who guide younglings through critical developmental phases are accorded high status. You have become such a guide for many, across multiple species. Before Tyler could respond, the door chimed again, and a group of aliens entered, representatives from all the major species in the Eastern District, including members of the parental council he recognized. The Meridian counselor stepped forward. "Human Tyler, we come with a formal proposal from the combined communities of New Harmony's Eastern District." Tyler straightened, suddenly aware that something significant was happening. "What kind of proposal?" "We have observed the spontaneous development of what can only be described as a multi-species educational cooperative centered around your repair activities," the Meridian stated. "What began as simple toy repair has evolved into something with greater cultural and educational value." The Draxian representative, whom Tyler recognized as Krozak's parent, continued. "Our younglings are learning not only about mechanical principles, but also about cultural exchange and cooperation in ways our formal educational institutions have failed to achieve. The Parental Council proposes to formally recognize and support this development," added an Andorian representative. "We wish to establish a cultural preservation and education center, with you as its primary facilitator." Tyler blinked in surprise. "A center? I'm just a mechanic who fixes toys." "You are far more than that," Vreen stated firmly. "You are what the Trescalians call a handfather, one who shapes development through practical guidance. Many of our younglings now use this term for you, regardless of their species." The Meridian extended a crystalline data tablet. "Our proposal includes funding for expanded facilities, educational resources, and a stipend that would allow you to focus on this work full-time. The repair of starships and commercial technology could be handled by others, while you concentrate on cultural artifacts and educational devices." Tyler accepted the tablet with stunned silence, scanning the detailed proposal. It was comprehensive, well thought out, and surprisingly generous. The aliens had clearly put significant effort into designing a program that would formalize and expand what had begun as his simple act of kindness. "This is unexpected," Tyler finally managed. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes, Tyler," came an excited voice from behind him. Tyler turned to see that the alien children in his shop had gathered around, listening to the exchange. It was Krozak who had spoken, scales bright with excitement. The younglings have already voted their approval. The Draxian parent noted with what might have been amusement. They are rarely so unanimous. Tyler looked around at the hopeful faces of the children, so different in form, yet so similar in expression, and then back at the assembled representatives of their communities. "I'd be honored," he said finally. "But I have one condition." "Name it," the Meridian counselor replied. "The center remains open to all children, regardless of species, status, or ability to contribute to the community fund. No one gets turned away." The representatives exchanged glances before nodding in agreement. "This condition aligns with our intentions," the Meridian confirmed. "The center will be a place of inclusion, just as your shop has been." In the weeks that followed, Tyler's modest repair shop underwent a transformation. The adjacent spaces were acquired and renovated, creating a larger facility with specialized workstations for different types of repairs, a central gathering area for cross-cultural education, and a display section where examples of various species' cultural artifacts could be exhibited and explained. The children who had already been gathering at Tyler's shop became the core of the new center's attendees, with Zik and Krozak taking on roles as junior instructors, sharing their growing knowledge with newcomers. More children joined as word spread, bringing not just broken toys and devices, but questions, ideas, and a genuine eagerness to learn about each other's cultures. Tyler found himself at the center of something far larger than he had ever imagined when he'd first fixed that Dracorian child's toy 3 years earlier. What had begun as a simple act of kindness had blossomed into a vital community resource, a place where the youngest members of New Harmony's diverse population could find common ground and mutual understanding. 6 months after the center's official opening, Tyler received a communication from Earth. His sister Megan's smiling face appeared on the screen, her eyes widening as she took in the bustling activity behind him. "Looks like business is booming," she commented. "Is that a Nephilian? I've never seen one in person." Tyler glanced over his shoulder to see Zik demonstrating the proper handling of a delicate Meridian crystal puzzle to a group of attentive younglings from various species. "That's Zik, one of my assistants," Tyler explained. "And this isn't exactly my repair shop anymore. It's evolved into something bigger." He spent the next several minutes explaining the development of the Cultural Preservation and Education Center, watching as his sister's expression shifted from surprise to pride. "Tyler Grant, Interstellar Cultural Ambassador," she said with a warm smile. "Who would have thought? Dad really would be proud, you know." "I'm just fixing things," Tyler said modestly. "The kids do most of the real work." Megan shook her head. "You're fixing more than toys, brother. From what you're describing, you're helping mend cultural divisions. That's no small thing." After finishing the call, Tyler moved through the center, observing the various activities taking place. In one corner, Krozak was leading a discussion on the significance of different species creation myths. In another, a group of mixed-species younglings was working collaboratively to repair a traditional Lyridian musical instrument, each contributing skills based on their natural abilities. Near the entrance, a small Dracorian child, one Tyler hadn't seen before, stood hesitantly, clutching what appeared to be a damaged environmental simulator. Tyler approached with a warm smile. "Welcome to the center. I'm Tyler. Can I help you with that?" The child looked up with wide eyes. "Are you the one they call Handfather? The one who fixes broken things?" The term no longer surprised Tyler. It had spread throughout the Eastern District, adopted by children of species that had no cultural equivalent to the Triskelion concept. "I am," he confirmed. "And what's your name?" "Malux," the child replied. "My atmospheric regulator is malfunctioning. My parent says it cannot be repaired, that we must request a new one from Draker Prime. But that would take many cycles, and without it, I cannot practice proper humidity control." Tyler gently took the device, examining it with experienced eyes. "I think we can fix this. Would you like to learn how?" Malux's scales brightened with hope. "You would teach me?" "That's what we do here," Tyler said, guiding the child toward an appropriate workstation. "We fix things together, and we learn from each other in the process." As they settled in to work on the regulator, Tyler caught fragments of conversation from around the center. A Triskelion explaining water pressure concepts to a Meridian, a young Andorian discussing navigation principles with a Lyrilian, Zick patiently demonstrating precise tool handling to a group of rapt younglings. In that moment, surrounded by the happy buzz of interspecies cooperation and learning, Tyler understood what his simple policy of fixing toys for free had really created. It wasn't just about restored toys or preserved cultural artifacts. It was about connection, about finding common ground in a universe of differences. The term handfather might have come from Triskelion culture, but the concept it represented was universal. Through the work of his hands, Tyler had indeed become something of a father figure to many of these children, guiding them not just in mechanical skills, but in the more important art of building bridges between worlds. As he helped Malux disassemble the atmospheric regulator, explaining each component and its function, Tyler felt a profound sense of contentment. His journey to the stars had led him not to isolation, but to a larger family than he could have imagined. A family that spanned species and cultures, united by curiosity, respect, and the simple joy of fixing broken things together. Handfather, Malux said hesitantly as they worked. Will you tell the story of how you began fixing things for younglings? Krozak says it is an important history. Tyler smiled, realizing that his own story had become part of the cultural exchange happening in the center. It began 3 years ago, he started, with a broken toy and a simple act of kindness. Around them, other children quieted their activities, drifting closer to listen to the now familiar tale that had become something of an origin story for their unique community. As Tyler recounted the sequence of events that had led to this moment, he saw understanding in their diverse faces, the recognition that sometimes the smallest actions could lead to the most profound connections. And that, he concluded, looking around at the gathering of alien children who had come to call him by a name that transcended species, is how a human mechanic who fixed broken toys for free ended up with the greatest family in the galaxy. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.